This is Jarrod Horak, and this is my latest handicapping video and my second handicapping video at Keeneland this week. I just did the Perryville Stakes for Saturday, October 21st. Then later that same day, they're going to be running the Grade 2 Raven Run Stakes, and that's the race I'm going to cover in this video. Last week, I did the QE the Second Challenge Cup at Keeneland, and I got my top choice home in that video. Now, if you're interested in my full card analysis at Santa Anita Park, you'll find those full cards each day Santa Anita Park runs at therunawayhorse.com on my sales page. And that autumn meet at Santa Anita Park includes the two-day Breeders' Cup and the two-day Breeders' Cup annual product that I cover every year in full card format. You will find details if you're interested in purchasing my Santa Anita or Breeders' Cup full cards. Go on over to therunawayhorse.com on my sales page for more details on those Breeders' Cup full cards. Now, if you're interested in reading my Breeders' Cup handicapping articles, head on over to todaysracingdigest.com. In their news section, you will find Breeders' Cup articles, so far written articles for all 14 Breeders' Cup races, Breeders' Cup handicapping angles for those 14 Breeders' Cup races, all 5 Breeders' Cup Friday races, all 9 Breeders' Cup Saturday races. I just wrote the Breeders' Cup Sprint earlier today. That was my final article in that series. And I'm going to go through. I'm going to be writing more Breeders' Cup articles each day as we get closer to the 2023 Breeders' Cup. So go on over to todaysracingdigest.com. Check out their news section if you're interested in reading my Breeders' Cup articles. And then in the description in this video, I will provide links to all 14 of the Breeders' Cup handicapping articles that I've written so far. And now we'll get into the analysis of this video. 9th race at Keeneland, Saturday, October 21st, Grade 2, $350,000 Raven Run Stakes for 3-year-old fillies traveling 7 furlongs on the main track. Scheduled post time, 5:16 p.m. Eastern Time. Lily Pooh breaks from the inside post for trainer Mike McCarthy. And for this filly, she is a daughter of Tapiture, and she's run 9 times, 2 wins, 2 seconds, 2 thirds. She hasn't run at Keeneland yet, and she's 0 for 2 at this 7 furlong distance. They tried her 7 furlongs when they cut her back and moved her back to the dirt course last time out. But that was a wet, fast track in the Charlestown Oaks. It was a Grade 3, and she never got involved. She was 5th in a 10-horse field. That's a bull ring track. It was a wet track. Maybe she didn't handle the circumstances there. I'll give her the benefit of the doubt. And she was a decent sprinter at shorter distances at Del Mar. That's when she competed last year. She had a couple seconds and a maiden victory. And then they tried her in longer races. She won the California Oaks, a mile and a 16th on all-weather ground at Golden Gate earlier this year. Finished 3rd in the Summertime Oaks and the Indiana Oaks. The pucker up on turf, she was no threat. And then I mentioned her last start in that Charlestown Oaks. She's probably going to save ground stalking the pace. Simply Stated is number 2. This is the daughter of Warriors Reward for trainer Todd Beattie. 5 wins from 7 starts with a 2nd and a 3rd. No starts at Keeneland and no starts at this distance. So for this filly, she's going to be running in the longest race she's run, and she's also going to be moving back to dirt. She moved to the Todd Beattie barn last time out. That was an all-weather sprint at Presque Isle Downs, and that was for Pennsylvania Bred Company, and she pressed and she won easily there. Before that, she was winning some Pennsylvania restricted stakes race at Penn National. She won an entry-level allowance race at that same venue. She won a state-bred allowance race there as well. So she's one that is going to be facing better company at a longer distance, and she'll probably impact the pace. Nom de Plume is next. This is a daughter of Uncle Mo for trainer Paulo Lobo, and Flavien Prat is going to get aboard this one. She's a little interesting, switching surfaces and cutting back in distance. She proved she could handle a shorter distance in her 6-furlong all-weather debut at Turfway Park, December of 2022. Outer post, chased from 2nd, and she won by 3/4 of a length. 2nd time out, a 1-mile, 2-turn race at Turfway Park against Optional Claiming Company, and she rallied from off the pace from last place in an 8-horse field to finish 2nd by a neck. Then in her last start at Ellis Park on the turf course, and it was a firm turf there at 1 mile, and that was a $74,000 non-winners 2 lifetime allowance race on August 5th, and she was coming off of a layoff from February to August, and she won that race after stalking the pace. So I'm not sure about the surface, and I'm not sure about the distance here. Like the connections, and maybe at a little bit of a price, and she could do something. She certainly has shown some ability on other surfaces, all weather and turf. Vahva is next. And she's run 9 times, and she's consistent. 3 wins, 2 seconds, 2 thirds. She handles Keeneland. She's run once at Keeneland. She was second, beaten a half length. And she's got 3 starts at this specialty 7 furlong distance with 2 wins and a second place finish. She broke her maiden in her 3rd career start. In her 2nd career start, she improved September of 2022 to finish second by a half length, but she did blow a 4-length lead that day. But she did not blow the lead in her next start at 7 furlongs at Churchill when she graduated last November from post 11. She stalked, she won by 3. In the Untappable Stakes, she was my top choice. They bet her down as the favorite. She stretched out, she stumbled at the start, really lost all chance there, and she made a nice run from off the pace. She was 3rd, but she was well beaten behind Pretty Mischievous and the Alley's Look there. She ended up finishing 3rd, beaten almost 9 lengths behind those two. Pretty Mischievous would come back and win the Rachel Alexandra Stakes. Vahva was 4th, beaten 10 lengths that day. And then Pretty Mischievous has been having an excellent year. She also won the Kentucky Oaks. Now for Vahva, she came back and turned back in distance. So after those 2 route races, they decided maybe she's not a route runner. So Cherie DeVoe, excellent conditioner, decided we're going to turn her back. She's best as a stalking sprinter. And in her next start, 6.5 furlongs at Keeneland, she pressed, she led, she finished second by a half. Then she won an optional claiming race at Churchill, stalking from 5th in a 10-horse field and winning by a half length. In her next start at 6.5 furlongs, the Victory Ride Stakes, a grade 3, she stalked the pace there. She was well clear of the rest in 3rd, 4 lengths behind the top 2, and Dazzling Blue, who's in this race, was a length and a half in front of her. The Charlestown Oaks last time, from the inside post, she was able to set a nice stalking trip, and she pulled clear, and she won by a length and a quarter. Nice effort there under John Velasquez, and he's ridden her in her last couple starts. John Velasquez with trainer Cherie DeVoe, 2 for 2 together recently, and John Velasquez is an excellent sprint rider, winning at a 26% rate recently. So for this filly, probably going to sit a decent stalking trip. Apple Picker is in from Maryland for trainer Brittany Russell. This is a daughter of Connect. She has 8 starts, 3 wins, no seconds, and no thirds. She's like an all or nothing type. And 2 of her victories in her career debut at Belmont, she went wire to wire. And then when she moved from Rudy Rodriguez to the Brittany Russell barn, May of this year at Delaware Park, she dueled and she wired the field there, winning easily. Her next 2 starts in stakes company on turf at Laurel, she was 4th and 7th. They moved her back to the main track at Pimlico, and she was in the Weather Vane Stakes there at 6 furlongs, and she rallied from off the pace, and she won by more than 4 lengths. Got a nice setup that day, and she looked good, and she earned a better speed rating. But now she's meeting better company in here, and she's never run a Keeneland, and in that one start at this distance, she was 7th, beaten 14 lengths in the Spinster Stakes. Dazzling Blue is next. This is a Brad Cox trainee, and this is a daughter of Into Mischief. She's 3 for 5 lifetime with a 2nd and a 3rd. She seems pretty easy to figure out. If you look at her first 3 starts, they were all at 6 furlongs. She made the early lead in those races, and she won by 4.5, 3, and 8 3/4 lengths. In her last 2 starts in the Victory Ride and the Prioress, she stalked the pace, and she finished 2nd in the Victory Ride and 3rd, beaten 11 lengths in the Prioress. So this filly seems to want that early lead. And let's see if Florent Giroux, who was aboard for her first 2 wire-to-wire victories, doesn't try to put her on the lead in this spot. They paid $500,000 for her, and I think if she gets to the lead, she could go all the way. But she's going to have to deal with Alva Starr in the early going, and Alva Starr beat her by 11 lengths last time out, and Alva Starr was able to get to the lead, and maybe that's the key for her too. Although she has proven that she can stalk and win like she did in her debut in the slop, September of 2022 at Delaware. Her second start, she stalked, she led, she finished 2nd. Then her last 3 starts, she went right to the lead. She was 2nd by a neck on May 27th. The Dashing Beauty Stakes at Delaware Park in July, she ran off the screen there. And then the Prioress, she ran off the screen in that race, just getting out there, setting the pace, and rolling home to a nice victory. All of those races were at 6 furlongs, so she's going to have to try to handle a longer distance in here, and we'll see how this pace plays out with Dazzling Blue and Alva Starr looking like the 2 main speed rivals in this event. Lady Radler has some speed, and she proved that she could rate last time. She stalked and scored in the Dogwood Stakes at 7 furlongs as a 23-1 long shot, Churchill Downs, September 23rd. She's won start at Keeneland with a 2nd. And that 7 furlong race last time was her lone try at this distance. She's one that was going to the front and doing well in previous races, and then she showed that good tactical speed. Now, I mentioned with the 2 speed horses in here, and she's drawn outside of those 2, I would expect that her rider, Jesus Castanon, is probably going to try to stalk the pace. And she's run 10 times, 5 wins, 2 seconds and a third, so she's very consistent. Ancient Peace is next, and she's going to have to be breaking from the outside in here, and she's going to be turning back in distance for trainer Brian Lynch. Ricardo Santana Jr. gets aboard this War Front filly, and they paid $650,000 for her in the Keeneland January 2023 sale. She's one that's always shown some ability. In her second career start in a 1-mile turf race at Santa Anita, she won that one by more than 4. And off the turf race at Santa Anita, she romped. That was earlier this spring by 6 lengths. The Providencia Stakes, she was 4th. The Summertime Oaks, moving back to the main track, and she finished 2nd there. Back to the turf course in the San Clemente, she was 10th of 14. And then last time, the Remington Park Oaks, back to the main track, she was 2nd, and clearly 2nd best at that. So I think overall, just looking at her form, she's a decent horse, routing on the main track, showing some good speed. And now from this outside post, I'm not sure what kind of trip she's going to get. Probably an outside stalking trip, because I mentioned the 2 speed horses. And those 2 speed horses, either one of them could win if one of them gets loose. And I wouldn't be surprised if they weren't going super fast early, that Dazzling Blue and Alva Starr could just run 1-2 all the way around. We'll just have to see how all that plays out. If they go too fast, you can look for a horse that's probably stalking the pace to try to pounce on them. That's the angle that I'm hoping happens, and that's what I'm going to play in here. I'm going to go with Vahva as my top choice. I've always liked this filly. I liked that win last time at Charlestown. This daughter of Gunrunner, I think she can sit a good stalking trip. She's got that good positional speed. She handles this Keeneland track. She likes this 7 furlong distance. She's a graded stakes winner at this distance, although that was over that bull ring track at Charlestown last time. But overall, she's got enough class and ability to work out a good trip, and hopefully under John Velasquez, she can get the job done at a little bit of a price in here, because I would expect Alva Starr is going to be the favorite. Probably Dazzling Blue will be the second choice. And I will make Dazzling Blue my second choice. I'm thinking maybe they're going to get aggressive here and try the wire of the field. Alva Starr will be my third choice. And rounding out my top 4, I'll go to the outside here with Ancient Peace. I just think maybe an outside stalking trip. Maybe the distance is a little short, but I think that she's got some ability for sure. So those are my top contenders in the Grade 2 Raven Run Stakes. And again, check out my handicapping articles for the Breeders' Cup at todaysracingdigest.com, and then go over to the runawayhorse.com on my sales page if you're interested in my 2023 Breeders' Cup full cards. And until I see you next time, good luck at the races.